We have inflation ticking up. We have nothing going on with the Iran war. Gas prices are high. Oil is staying high. And we have a new Fed chair being sworn in that could potentially raise rates. I think that is in the cards overall. So there's a lot of factors that we need to be mindful of. Looking at the S&P 500, this is a cash index 500. We made a 20% move in 34 trading days. That's not really normal. Let's move on to the cash index for the Nasdaq. This is even crazier. 30% within 33 days. Really 32 days. I'm including this here, but we're only 2% off of all-time highs. This continues to be up. If you could just see this 8 EMA pulls back to it and it rips higher. This is probably really following the 5 or some 4 or something like that, some stronger EMA, especially during these strong pops. But either way, this is very strong market action. Here's the equally weighted QQQ actually looks pretty decent. It's consolidating, time correcting, letting the short-term MA catch up. It's just underneath all-time highs. If you guys need to see a resistance line, here you go. This is kind of what it's going to look like, something like that. It's getting tight underneath it. And let's go to the RSP, equally weighted S&P 500. So again, this takes out the weight of basically the top 10 names, basically tech, and puts the weight throughout all 500 names equally instead of like the 33% XLK has on it. And this is breaking a little bit. It's closed below the 21. We got the 50 just below at 200. That is where a prior support level was as well. Maybe it starts consolidating in this area. So if you're an RSP person, and you watch this, I would just watch that $200 level. It's nice, it's level, it's even. It's a psychological number. It's at the 50. It's at corresponding prior support. Doesn't mean it's going to be support, but prior support. So why is the market doing what it's doing? It's right here. Good old semiconductors. If you've been watching Micron and NVDA and AMD, SNDK, all of these absolute rippers, this has been up 61.33% about within 33 days. That is absolutely nuts. I've never seen anything like this, which is pretty cool. At the same time, is it healthy? Probably not. I'd take a gander. No. Let's move on to the top names. So again, if this is the first time watching, firstly, thanks for watching. Go look at my X video as well, my FinX segment. I cover over the top X names that are kind of buzzing around X for the week. So maybe we can gather some information for that. But otherwise, this is my weekly market overview where I go over basically my AI build out watch list and my universe that I watch all of the time. And I get to know these names. I've been trading the top 10 names for nearly a year now, tracking them ACD style. I'm part of the Babyfish Fish Pond Trading Group. Absolutely wonderful group if you guys are looking for a professional team to work with, all these things. So welcome to the channel. Thanks again for joining. Let's get to these names. Microsoft looks pretty decent. We got a nice little bull flag here. It's over the 50 EMA 8 and 21. It continues to, this is the anchor VWAP from this low, tags it there, tags it here, continues to hold it, which is nice. The only thing is risk reward is a little challenging right now because we have prior resistance and just above is 200 EMA. I don't think it's super actionable. If you're a long-term trader, it's completely something different. This is short-term, 1 to 5 day holds, 2 to 5 day holds, things like that, momentum short-term trading, and going in a little bit heavier size-wise and risk management up close. So Amazon pulling back to 21 looks pretty decent. But overall, I'm still cautious. If you've been watching my videos, I've been cautious over the past like 4 weeks during this lockout rally. As it hasn't even climbed the wall of worry. It has rocketed up a sky of worry, I guess. But here we are. So only price base. Meta, little undercut and potential rally here. This continues to fail at the 625 level. I do think we get a gap fill soon. When? Not sure. Otherwise, it's just consolidating. Google has been super strong. It already took back basically in 1 day what it lost in 3 days. And it's getting tight here. So Google looks pretty decent moving forward into next week. It's got a good number line score. If you're an ACD trader, cumulative number line score, it's like in the 30s. So it's super bullish, which is pretty strong. It's above the 3 day. The only thing is it's underneath this prior day pivot. So we do have that to fight for. But the nice thing is it closed below or above the Friday's pivot. So it's bullish leaning into Monday. It just depends on what the market wants to do. The market is, like I said, I am cautious into going into this week. But some of these names actually look pretty decent. Oracle, nice little consolidation. If you've been following me, I've been talking about this one. Popped to the 200, rejected, finds support at the prior resistance, pops off that, clears to 200, which was the prior resistance, now pulls back to the 200, finds support so far, along with the 8 EMA. This looks pretty solid. I'd look out for maybe a break of Friday's high. The only thing is you got some potential supply within this area, this 200 to 198. And then also you have this potential supply area too. So the risk reward might not be the best there. You want to look for A plus setups. You want to look for trades that you are that are worth risking your money for. I would rather miss a trade instead of lose money. So be super picky. That's my recommendation. Tesla, I've been charting this out over the past couple of weeks too. Again, I follow it basically religiously. I missed this entire move simply because of work, couldn't get in. I've been waiting for a pullback. Now, where can this pullback go? You can see I have a few anchor VWAPs here. I'm just going to delete those actually. But what I am interested in is this anchor VWAP from the low. If it pulls back, it's a little deep. It would be nice if it undercut the 50 and the 200 and tag the EMA. The anchor VWAP from the low, and then like got a nice bottoming tail in and held the 21. I'd be looking for that. Otherwise, the first level we got to look for is this 410.85 to 408.98. I think that is a potential area to buy against with confluence of the 21. That might be a decent shot to take at. Is always manage your risk per usual, right? So I think I'm actually going to put an alert on here and see what happens and see if anything comes of it. Let's move on to Palantir. Palantir has been pretty boring. Huge monster run up, little topping. Distribution continues to fail at prior supply area. Under anchor VWAP here. I've been talking it. I think it's going to go to 120 or so. Why? I don't actually know. It's just because it's in range. So if it tags here, maybe it becomes support. With some market weakness, this has potential to break down and then retest to continue its downtrend. It's still under the 200. It's still under the 50. It's under the 8, rejecting at the 8. It's under the 21. If you're a short-term trader, there's no reason why you should be buying long into that right now. All right, CrowdStrike, all-time highs, absolute monster ripper. I was charting this out again. I missed it. Super strong name. I would be mindful of it's been up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a row. I do not buy stocks that are up 7 days in a row. It does not make sense to me. I would recommend you don't do it also, but not financial advice. These videos never are. Now, nothing to be concerned of here. Adobe, I was wrong on this reverse head and shoulders, which is fine, whatever. It's still in a consolidation area. Nothing to do until it breaks that 50 in consolidation zone. Snow actually looks pretty solid. So we have a higher low here. What we could do is set an anchor VWAP from this low, watch it, see if it continues to hold it, which it does here. Undercuts, but gets back above it overall. We have some pivot on gaps underneath it, which is nice. It's at a prior area of resistance right now. It's tagging it again on a pretty bullish day, 4.5% up. Nice volume if you paid attention to that. I don't really. It closed underneath the 50. I think if it breaks Friday's high, there's a good chance it can make a run up to 183, which is also confluence with the 200. So if you get a setup, matter of fact, I'm going to set an alert up here. Any intraday like morning selling weakness into Fridays, I'm going to be looking to potentially buy against. The market has to be somewhat strong though. I won't be buying this if it's a weekday, right? That doesn't make sense. So the intraday action's got to be strong. It's got to hold. Maybe an undercut of Friday and reclaim. Maybe a 30-minute opening range, 30-minute low of day. See if it pulls and holds in there. You can set the low. The odds are pretty high that the first 30-minute high or first 30-minute low um, is the ultimate high or low of the day, tracking wise. And so that's what I like to base my stops off of. And for a continuation, basically until the next day if I hold it. DDOG, this is pretty extended, super strong move, nice gap, anchor VWAP from here. I have no interest in it, but it is a strong name. It is breaking out to all-time highs. This is a place to be. You just got to wait for a setup, I think. MDB, I took a little short, took profit here on Wednesday. I was just basically looking for maybe 2 days, only got 1 day of selling. Took a little profit, and now it's pushing higher from the anchor VWAP. It's holding the 200 EMA. It's holding the 8. We got a nice little push on Friday. Looks pretty good, especially for a reversal there. Look at that obvious 275 level, gapped above it, and now it's going higher. So where could it go here? Maybe 337. MDB actually looks pretty solid. So if we want to make a alert, you can see I had my alert here. I'll make an alert there and we can move on. I'll be looking for entries on MDB potentially on Monday. Let's move on to CRM. There is nothing to see here. IBM, it's kind of, I don't know, you might be able to call this a bear flag to the 8. Looks like it might fail this prior support here. Where did I get this? I got it from right there. Next level would be 204. So that's what I would be watching out for if this wants to continue on down, which it on market weakness, I'd be watching it. Netflix continues to be weak. Anything that is pushed higher, it's sold off. So I would be mindful of that. Netflix might be a decent short opportunity if you like shorts, especially with market weakness. Maybe a little bounce into here. This 87.50 area could be shortable. You can maybe, if you wanted to, look at this high ran all of these. So risking against Friday's high might be a safe bet. You never know, but it's a decent area to risk against. NVIDIA, we do have earnings on Wednesday. So be mindful of that. I would not hold into anything. This is popped. I just wait for a pullback if you're trying to buy that. I'll go staying nice and tight. Nothing super fancy here. Let's move on. AMD. So again, it closed below the 8 EMA. We have the 21 right down here, 375 area, pretty close to this prior gap fill. Could get 362 or so. I'd be mindful of that. I do think that's a potential. And I might put a target at or an alert at 401. 403-ish, just something to be mindful of. I'll put something up here. Let's see if we get some market weakness and potentially set up a short opportunity to capture a short-term short. You got to be tactical with this though, and you got to manage your risk, because otherwise you can get hurt pretty bad. TSM, just kind of chopping around here at all-time highs. Looks pretty good. Trend is up and to the right. MU Micron, it looks like it might be ready to crack. Maybe the 21 would not be a bad thing. 21 EMA here, 630. And he bounced into this area here. This 759.28, 744.68 might be shortable. That's a pivot on gap that was never filled. So be mindful of that. That is a potential. Marvel looks pretty decent. It just needs a hold here. It's up and to the right, right? All of these names are strong. INTC already gave some back, 18% in a few days. Don't be shocked, right? Especially if SNTK, if Micron, if AMD all started to do what INTC has done already. Don't be surprised. ARM, kind of breaking that. Let's see. Qualcomm, let's just move on through. I have no interest in trading any of these. I think you missed the short-term semi-trade. I would not be buying up here. These moves are just, it doesn't make sense. Like, obviously, they could keep going, but if you choose to buy this stuff, oh, look at that. Did it hit it? It just missed it. 307.86, 370.80. What did I say? 370.86. By a few cents. I missed my alert. Oh well. This is why pivot on gaps are pretty important. Look at this. It almost touched it. This pivot on gap, basically the average of the Tuesday's area price of the average participant held. So they're pretty helpful. They're pretty useful. CORH coherent. This looks pretty decent moving into next week. It just needs to get above that 3-day pivot. I think a pullback to the 21 or this downtrend line, if you're a pullback to the downtrend line trader, downtrend line break and retest looks potential here. GLW Corning looks like 21 might be reasonable this week. LITE at Lumentum, complete monster. ENTG, this is getting hit below the 50. I don't know. We might get a gap fill down here. Nothing crazy there. CRWV, that's getting hit as well. I just let that settle. NBIS, super strong name. Maybe, just maybe. It's hard for me to want to go long in this market, honestly, because it has. I just don't. I don't trust that it has a lot of gas left. I don't think tech or these cloud names, these super volatile names are like. I don't think now is the time to get it. This MB Iron looks like it's going lower. CORZ holding up pretty nicely. This is a nice base break here. Over the past few months, getting pretty tight. It's held the 8 EMA, so CORZ might be interesting next week. Let's put something around this 23, 24 area as an alert, see if something happens there. APLD, I've been saying, hey, keep mindful of this. Another area pushed higher. So this looks okay. It's below the 8. I'd watch for the 21. We got a pivot on gap and confluence. So I really like this 39.20, this 37.81 area for a potential buy. I'd watch that. GEV. So we're getting some names like Power Energy. I do think energy might be a place to be long at this week. It's getting real tight at the 21. It's still holding it. I'd be mindful if it breaks this one, if this 1032, it gets down to the 1016 gap fill here. It's got the 50 EMA right underneath it too. Just watch for that breakout. Matter of fact, let's put it right there. VRT staying pretty strong, grinding up the 8. CAT below the 3-day pivot now, below anchor VWAP from the earnings. 21 looks like it is kind of going to be the target at 866. I'd wait for it to get there and then assess to see what happens. BE, move on. Here we go. Exxon. I was watching this last week. I did not get in. Distribution look. Head and shoulders, as you can see, are marked out. Neckline. And then what happened? Failed to break. This low. From failed moves comes what? Fast moves. So we have now broken this prior resistance. We're above the anchor VWAP from the all-time highs here. We do have this pivot on gap here. So 1060.16, 158.22. If we break that 160.16, you risk 158.21. This would be a pretty decent area to risk against. You can see it held here again, pivot on gap from this day here. So pretty useful. CVX. I think this looks interesting going into this week. We do have a pivot on gap here at 192.45 and 192.06, 192.45. You can use that to risk. It might be a little thin, 39 cents or so. That might be a little thin to risk. 193. I would watch for a break of this 194 area. I'm putting an alert. XOM, I would like to buy on a pullback to this. Oh, that pivot on gap is gone. That is cleared. I would like to buy somewhere within a pullback of like a 3-day pivot within this range, even though it's made a little bit of a move. I'm not sure if I love that idea. LNG kind of consolidating underneath, nothing here. I've been talking about KMI over the past couple of weeks, getting back into this range now where it might go. Looks like it's heading to all-time highs. Well, sorry, not all-time highs. This prior area here of 34.30. So that looks pretty interesting. CCJ. Nothing to really see here. That looks like it's going down. Prior support is 101 and 200 EMA, so be mindful of that. I was watching all of these names. I'm just going to delete that. last week because they looked pretty decent, but it actually looks like they're starting to turn lower. So they don't look good to me anymore. They had a chance to prove themselves, and they are falling out of bed miserably. So I no longer like the nuclear energy looks at the moment. FSLR, this looks pretty solid. First solar right here, nice little base resistance area, and we got a gap fill. Looks like it could potentially go higher this week. This actually looks pretty decent. I am going to set an alert, some pullback within that pivot area there, and we can maybe keep on rolling. NXT, huge gap, and it sold off on earnings, which is fine, but it's above that anchor view gap again. Looks pretty decent. I'm gonna let it chop a little bit and kind of figure itself out. FLNC, nothing to see here. HAL, another one that I do think we need to watch this week. It's getting pretty tight. Any intraday pullback action, I would be interested in buying with a risk most likely below the low of day. Otherwise, I am watching a break of Friday's high to potentially stop run Wednesday's high, and then maybe even Friday's high and the first there. What is this? This is just a prior resistance area. So we are close to resistance. So we got to be mindful of that, but it does look pretty good. It looks tight. VLO also looks like it's getting tight. If you'd like lines, here's a line for you. It's getting tight. Looks like it's about to break out. So HAL, VLO, I think they are places to be this week. MPC, I think this is a place to be this week. Only 2% off all-time highs. So some of these names I'd be watching, especially oil. If oil wants to pop, I haven't looked at the futures market for oil just yet. Nothing to see here in MP. Actually, metals last week, I was saying, hey, they might be in play. They were looking good. I was wrong, which is fine, especially for some of the names. They are absolutely getting hit right now. So if you're interested in shorting metals futures, that might be the way to go. FCX, nice gap down at the 50. Yeah, these metal names, they can be pretty hard to trade, especially how gappy they are because they're tied to the futures market. WPM is getting tight. You just got to wait for this pattern to break. HL, I did like HL and then it got crushed, so I no longer like it. AG, same thing. It was holding this and then it failed to hold it, so now it's probably going to 19. GLD, nothing to see here. AEM, nothing to see here. B, downtrend line retest, an interesting look, could be a decent risker. Rocket Lab, absolute monster. I wouldn't chase this up here. I caught the move, which is nice in my long-term account, but short-term wise, I'm not touching it. LUNR, ASTS. If you're looking for a space play between Rocket Lab, LUNR, and ASTS, you go ASTS. It hasn't had that monster move. Earnings is out of the way, which is nice. It's been a few days after that. It's above the short and moderate and long-term EMAs. Cleared out this pivot on gap, which is all good. This looks pretty decent. However, if Rocket Lab and LUNR, they've already made these moves and they start to sell off from the move, that's probably going to bleed into ASTS too. So don't forget about that. Just be mindful of it. LMT, these guys look like they were trying to turn around, just not now. NOC, look at this. This looks pretty decent for a short, actually. Failed at the 8. I'm going to set an alert. Any like morning bounces into this 3-day pivot, into this pivot on Friday, I'd be interested in shorting myself. So NOC actually looks like a pretty decent short this week. Somewhere to be. GE, move on. RTX, nice little bear flag here, heading down. Looks like 168 is going to be the target. Not far enough for risk here. JOBY looks like it's trying to turn around underneath the 200. Move on. ACHR getting hit. Move on. Hood, choppy, sloppy mess, holding the anchor VWAP from the earnings, but whatever. There's nothing to do there. It's in range. Don't waste your time. Coin getting hit also. It's failing, continues to fail here. You only have the 200 EMA right up here, so just be mindful of your risk. It doesn't make sense to me right there. MSTR failing to hold this here. Again, 200 EMA. Starting to flatten out, which is decent, but whatever. UPS, kind of consolidating. Nothing there. FDX looks tight. Could be interesting with a break of Thursday's high around this 380 area. That looks interesting. I'm gonna do a little undercut of Friday lows. Might be interesting as well. CME, it's getting a little love, a little pop. I put an anchor VWAP 2 here, so I'm actually going to set, you can see my alerts that I set here, I think. I'm going to set an alert here for a pullback and potentially risk the lows there. All right, that's the prep for the week. Here's some of the names. Go over, watch, review, go watch my FinX videos for the upcoming week as well. Hopefully this is helpful for you guys. If you guys have any comments, questions, anything like that, comment below. Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, and we shall see you next week. Later.